Hello everyone, good morning and welcome to today's The Hindu News Analysis. In today's news analysis, we'll be discussing about 8 important news articles in the Hindu newspaper today. Coming to the first page, in the first article, Amendment on New Map tabled in Nepal Parliament. The government of Nepal on Sunday tabled the crucial constitution amendment bill to formalize the country's new map, which claims parts of India as its territory. So I'll just tell a background of it. So what happened is in like as you all know, like Jammu and Kashmir was reorganized last year, right, in 2019. So after that, India had published a new political map of India comprising the union territories of Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. So Nepal has registered protest due to that map, telling that areas of Kalapani, Limpiadura, and Lipu Lake, which are parts of Uttarakhand's Pithoragarh district, it is said to be disputed, and India has shown it in the India map. So, because of this, Nepal had registered a protest, and after that, later, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh, he had also inaugurated a road near the Lipu Lake Pass. This also created issues, and Nepal had registered a protest again. So after that, recently, what Nepal had done is has released a new political map of Nepal, which showed areas of India like Kalapani, Limpiadura, and the Lipu Lake as the parts of Nepal. And now they are planning to propose a constitution amendment bill to formalize the country's new map. So this is what is happening. So what is the origin of this dispute? The origin of this dispute goes back to the Treaty of Sigoli, which happened in 1816 after the Anglo-Nepal War. So after the Anglo-Nepal War, what happened is the British India took some areas of Nepal, the Garhwal Kumaon region and all, which are the present Uttarakhand region. So those were taken away from Nepal, and the agreement was signed that the Kali River will become the new border. So any area which is west to Kali River becomes Nepal, and any area which comes to the east of Kali River will be Nepal, and coming to the west will be India. So that was the agreement which was planned after Treaty of Sigoli. But what happened? What is the confusion now? The confusion now is regarding the origin of Kali River. Nepal says that Kali River originates at the place called Limpiadura, but India says that Kali River originates at Kalapani. That's why the name itself is Kali River. Okay, so this origin of the river is the reason for the present dispute. So according to Nepal, since it originates in Limpiadura, anything to the east of Limpiadura belongs to Nepal. That is Limpiadura, Lipu Lake, and Kalapani. But India's stance is that it is not the case, and the present border shall remain. So now this has created a big border issue among India and Nepal. Also, why this area is strategic for India? This area is strategic for India for two main reasons. One is the presence of Lipu Lake Pass. Lipu Lake Pass, we have already seen that, like in 1962 and all, mountain passes becomes an important strategic location, because this China came to India in this 1962 war through mountain passes, right? So control of mountain passes is very important to India. Also, Lipu Lake Pass is one of the nearest pass to New Delhi also, right? So that also increases its strategic importance. The other importance of this Lipu Lake Pass is it passes through the route of the Kailash Mansarovar pilgrimage. So it is important from the pilgrimage perspective also. So these are the reasons why India is having more strategic interest in this area. Now, coming back to the article, the new map depicts the sliver of strategically important land covering Limpiadura, Lipu Lake, and Kalapani as part of Nepal. So we have already discussed this. So the area is currently part of Pithoragarh district of Uttarakhand. Also, this constitutional amendment bill is likely to pass in Nepal because of the reason that most of the political parties, even the main opposition, has come together unitedly to pass the map. So, this constitutional amendment is most likely to be passed soon. So, and this will be an issue between Nepal and India. Now, coming to the next article, stay more vigilant than ever against COVID-19 threat. Modi. So, Prime Minister Narendra Modi asked Indians to stay more vigilant than ever against the threat of COVID 19 a day after the center notified a phased opening up of the economy termed Unlock One. So, Modi was speaking his monthly radio broadcast, that is Man Ki Baat. Also, coming to the COVID related news on Sunday, the country registered 8,562 new cases and 219 deaths. This takes the total number of cases to 1,90,531 and the fatalities to 5,400. So this we can see that this is the first time that the total number of cases are increasing above 8,000. Right. So this is the cases are increasing. Also, the center has also decided that strict lockdown will be limited to the containment zones. That is, the center has identified around 13 main cities, which are having 70% of the total number of cases. So, in these areas and all, the lockdown measures will be stricter, and coming to other areas, the lockdown it will be more of unlocking rather than a lockdown. So that is all about that article. Now, coming to another important article, SpaceX spacecraft successfully docks with the ISS. ISS is International Space Station. So we'll just discuss about this ISS and SpaceX now. So ISS is International Space Station. It is an artificial satellite which is there in the lower Earth orbit. So this is used as a space station, and it is a joint collaboration by five space agencies. So which all are those five space agencies? These five space agencies belong to countries like US. That is, NASA is there, US, Canada, then Russia, then European Union and Japan. So the space agencies of these five regions have built the ISS, and they are the ownership is in a like a combined basis, and they do collaborations on scientific research and all that. So that is all about ISS. And what is the SpaceX? SpaceX is a private company which is owned by Elon Musk, right? So they are into space research, traveling, and also now what happened is spacecraft successfully docks with ISS. So SpaceX has sent two astronauts to the International Space Station. So, SpaceX Dragon spacecraft with two NASA astronauts on Sunday successfully docked with the International Space Station. The SpaceX belongs to Elon Musk. Also, the liftoff assumes significance as it marks the launch of humans into orbit from the US soil for the first time in nearly a decade. So, the US NASA actually had a bit avoided during using this human space missions. Now they were focusing on other aspects, right? So now again this human space mission has been launched from the US soil. So that is one of the significance. And coming to the other significance, with the liftoff, SpaceX became the first private company to launch people into the orbit, a feat previously achieved only by three governments: US, Russia, and China. So only three countries have actually launched humans into space. They are US, Russia, and China. Even other countries couldn't do it till now. Now a private company is able to achieve that, and that private company is SpaceX. So that is the significance of this mission. So here you can learn about ISS for prelims perspective, and even the significance will be important from the prelims perspective, and even the name of the spacecraft, that is Dragon spacecraft. So all this can be learned from the prelims perspective. Now, coming to the editorial of the day, Land of the Unfree. So this is regarding the recent upsurge in the US regarding the after the killing of the Afro-American. That is, his name is George Floyd by a American policeman. I'm sorry. So the racism in the US is the crux of the editorial. So the events of this week, including protest following the death of an African American, George Floyd, in police action in Minneapolis, Minnesota. So after this, there have been a lot of protest. There was rallies and even the police crackdown were high. Also, the President Donald Trump inserted himself into the controversy and triggered a broader debate on censorship of posts by social media platforms. So he tweeted that even Twitter masked and attached a question note to a tweet by Mr. Trump for glorifying violence. So what was the Trump's tweet about? He called the protesters as thugs. He called the protesters as thugs, and he even said that when the looting starts, the shooting starts. So this is something which is very incorrect for a president to say, right? So he said among the other things, so this is not a new thing for Donald Trump. Like spreading hatred is not at all a new thing. He has said among the other things that Mexicans were rapists and drug dealers, and in early 2017 he even banned visitors from certain Muslim majority countries. So spreading of hatred is not a new thing for Donald Trump. Now coming to the his presidential candidate, opposition candidate. So Mr. Biden, should Mr. Biden select an African American or a minority community leader as its running mate for the vice president, right? So if this happens, so the political talks are going on whether if Biden can bring a vice president candidate from the minority community, then he will be able to uh, further his chances to become the president. So but anyway, however, the mere tokenism of including persons of color as a vice presidential candidate or in a potential Biden cabinet of 2021 will not suffice to heal the painful fractures of the American society driven by the hateful rhetoric on race. So here, first of all, one thing is the classification of people as white and people of color itself is a flawed classification, right? So isn't white a color? Like, and what about the other colors? Like, this is not a logical classification, right? Like white people and people of color. That itself, that classification itself is racist, which should be changed. Also, there should be a far-reaching legislative reform on the use of excessive force by police against minorities, punishment for all hate crimes, workplace discrimination, and inhuman treatment of migrants at the border. So these are to be done in order to ensure that the situation doesn't go out of control and such incidents doesn't happen. Such racist incidents doesn't happen in the future. Right, especially against the Afro-American community. So that is what there's a need for a legislative reform. Now, coming to the next article, it's time for a universal basic income program in India. So, providing unconditional regular paychecks at least till the economy normalizes is the need of the hour. So, what is the benefit of a universal basic income program? So, this program will actually give money directly to the people. That is the most vulnerable section of the population will get the uh, money directly. Like if it is a conditional transfer, if it is a universal transfer, then everyone in the country will get some amount of money. So this will help to revive the demand in the economy, ensure that the hunger reduces, the poverty reduces, and even it will help in economic revival through increasing the demand in the economy. So this article is regarding that. So it is a tool to eradicate poverty. Many consider a universal basic income program to be a solution that could mitigate the looming crisis caused by dwindling job opportunities. As we have already seen, due to the COVID lockdown, many industries have been shut down and there have been a lot of job losses in the economy. So, UBI in its true sense would entail the provision of an unconditional fixed amount to every citizen in the country. So, this is called universal basic income. It is called universal because it is given to every citizen in the country, right? Also, it is an unconditional transfer. Like every citizen in the country will unconditionally receive this much amount of money. So this plan has been done in already done in countries like Kenya, Brazil, Finland, and Switzerland. Also, so the economic survey of 2016 and 17 has also mooted this idea. Also, the International Monetary Fund had one proposed quasi basic income schemes that leave out well of top quartile and the population of the population as an effective means to alleviate poverty and hunger. So even IMF has told that a quasi income scheme, right? Quasi is not universal, like only to the I mean it the well of top quartile of the population, that is the rich people, will be avoided from this income scheme. That was something proposed by the IMF, right? So anyway, coming to the economic burden on the government, the fiscal cost of a UBI pegged at rupees 7,620 at 75% universally was 4.9% of the GDP. So assume a single person is given 7,620 rupees uh, an year, and this is given to 75% of the population. In that case, the fiscal cost to the GDP will be 4.9% of the GDP. But this, as of now, this has not gained any political traction because a political will is absent, the first thing. Also the cost involved, that is, even 75% of the to cover 75% of the population at 7,600 rupees a year, it will cost around 4.9% of the GDP. So the cost involved is too high. So that is one of the reason why this is avoided. Also, the requirement to reduce some of the existing subsidies to balance the resultant deficit were also difficult political minefields for the then government. So in order to give this universal basic income, the center have to take back many other subsidy schemes, like the subsidies given to farmers and other classes of the society, right? So yeah, withdrawing any of the subsidy schemes will be a very big political decisions, and there can be a lot of protest against this. So due to the political as well as the economic cost involved, the governments have continuously stopped from deciding on it. So anyway, the times are now very different. IMF has projected global growth in 2020 to be minus 3%, the worst since the Great Depression. India is projected to grow at 1.9%, and even the US economy is expected to fall, and lockdowns in some format are expected to be the norm till the arrival of the vaccine. Also, with almost 90% of India's workforce in the informal sector without minimum wages or social security, micro level circumstances can be worse in India than anywhere else. So what can be the solution for all this issue? One way to ensure the sustenance throughout these trying times is the introduction of unconditional regular paychecks at maximum universality. That is this, try to ensure a universal basic income at least till the economy normalizes. If universal basic income ever it had a time, it is now. So the article is telling that this is the time to bring out the universal basic income. Okay, coming to the next news article. So this is another bad news after the cyclone Amphan. Super cyclone Amphan has come recently in the eastern coast. Now a cyclone is brewing in the Arabian Sea. The Indian Meteorological Department has forecast a cyclone in the Arabian Sea that is likely to move towards Gujarat and Maharashtra by June 3rd. While such storms are common at this time of the year, their path can have a bearing on the progress of monsoon. So we all know that monsoon is expected to uh, reach Kerala by June 3rd as per IMD. So if this cyclone comes, then a low pressure will be created in the Arabian Sea. Then the monsoon so then due to this pressure differences, the monsoon will be delayed into India. So while such storms are common at this time of the year, the path can have a bearing on the progress of the monsoon. Also, currently the storm is in the Arabian Sea has been classified as a low pressure area. So there is a four-step classification. So the first step is the classification of a low pressure area. So as of now, the first step has been classified. So it is the first step in a four rung classification of of increasing intensity that culminates in a cyclonic storm. So as of now, meteorologists expect it to move almost parallel to the western coast, and then by Wednesday take a turn and make landfall either in Gujarat or in Maharashtra. Also, so we have already discussed that the monsoon might be delayed. So last year cyclone Vayu, which was formed in Arabian Sea, also stalled the monsoon after it entered on June 8th. So here one thing which you have to read from the mains perspective is why the frequency of the cyclones are increasing recently. So here what you have to do is you have to relate it with the global warming. So what happened, how can you relate this global warming to this frequent cyclones? So due to global warming, what happens, the seas and the oceans get warmed up. So when it gets warmed up, there will be more evaporation. So when evaporation happens and the air rises up, a low pressure area will be created, right? So due to this high temperature, more evaporation, creation of a low pressure area, so this winds from the surrounding areas will try to come towards the low pressure area, and due to the Coriolis force, this will result into a rotational motion in the water, and the cyclone will be generated, right? So and so due to global warming, what happens? More rise in temperature, more low pressure areas, and more cyclones, right? So in this manner you should be able to explain it in a clear manner, how why the cyclones are more frequent in this in these areas. Okay, so that is all about that news. Coming to the next news articles, open with caution. So this is regarding the unlock 1.0, which is going to happen. So the resumption of economic activity is essential, but the vigil on the virus must remain. It is a universally acknowledged now that severe restrictions on to contain the COVID-19 produce traumatic displacement of the weaker sections, while the check on the infection spread was modest. So the unlock one plan, which the government has recently announced, it should ensure a careful restarting of activities, the most important of which is the delivery of goods and everyday services, including health services unrelated to COVID-19 infections. So latest data since the virus surfaced in the country shows that 13 cities, including some of the biggest metros, host 70% of the cases, and many of the earlier restrictions will continue there. So these are areas like Delhi, Mumbai, Chennai, and other areas like parts of Gujarat and all are included in this 13 cities. Also, retaining curbs on big gatherings like such as in the religious places is reasonable given the history of these sites unwittingly becoming super spreaders. So the religious places should be shut down because they have a history of becoming super spreaders. For example, in South Korea also, we the start of a case, the start of the COVID-19 case was due to a religious congregation which has become a super spreader, right? Around many of the population, almost all of the people who attended the religious congregation was affected. And even coming to India also, religious congregation has resulted as super spreaders, right? So we all know that. So also the uh, apart from this, apart from closing down the religious places, the states also should increase the testing and quarantining of individuals and the other measures which are related to control the COVID-19 pandemic. And coming to the economic aspect, a genuinely universal PDS with adequate supply of food grains, ensuring that no one is left behind, must be provided in all the states. Also, cash supplements should reach all the intended beneficiaries. So it can be through universal basic income, as we have already discussed, or through direct benefit transfer, or in any manner the cash should reach the people who are in need of it. Also, a survey of the workers who lost jobs after the pandemic should be done. So here the example of two states can be taken, Uttar Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh. Uttar Pradesh has done a skill mapping of the migrant workers who return back to the state. Also, Madhya Pradesh has released an app called Rozgar Sedu for the skilled workers to provide them employment within the state itself. So these examples should be emulated by other states also, so that that can be done. Also, the hunger levels should be reduced, and even the financial support should be given. So we have discussed all this. And coming to the elderly, vulnerable individuals, and the children below 10, the center's advice is to shelter in place, that is to be in the home itself, don't go out. So even during the relaxation phase, so this is a medically sound advice but cannot be done over a long period in big cities, as they cannot access goods and services at their doorsteps, right? So there are houses where elderlies are staying alone, like there are only two elderlies. So in case of that, it will become a very difficult situation for them. So if the government is suggesting them to be in home without going out, then the government should be making arrangements to ensure the supply of goods and services to them, even if it is essential or even non-essential service and goods also. So the course of the COVID-19 in the weeks ahead is by no means predictable, and the center recognizes a possibility of new rural clusters emerging due to the large scale return of the migrants. So anyway, the way forward is to create public awareness that the virus is present, ramping up the testing, providing health services, and intensively monitor the relief measures. So that's all about the editorial. Coming to the next article, Tata Sons to manufacture Sree Chitra Institute's testing kits. So Tata Sons entered into an agreement with the Sree Chitra Tirunal Institute of Medical Sciences and Technology, Thiruvananthapuram, for commercial production of COVID-19 testing kits. So this Sree Chitra Tirunal Institute has developed some testing kits. So now the commercial production will be done by the Tata Sons. So, and coming to some basics of the kits, you don't have to go much into detail about the technicalities, but learn some keywords so that you can use it in the mains answers, as well as you can identify it if it is asked as a prelims question. So coming to those some basics facts, the kits will be based on the RT lamp technology. RT lamp means reverse transcriptase loop mediated amplification. So this just remember it so that if it is asked in the prelims, you can just identify it. So which can produce results in the significant less time. So the benefit of this is that it can produce result in significantly less time. Also, the tests are expected to get approval shortly, and production will start thereafter. So earlier Tata Sons had a partnership with the CSIR Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology to produce CRISPR based test kits. So this CRISPR technology has also been asked continuously in the prelims examination in 2018 as well as 2019. I think continuously either in 2017 18 or 18 19. So this technology has been continuously asked. So this technology should be uh, thorough for you. This is based on that gene editing technology. CRISPR is the scissors, molecular scissors and all. So these facts should be clear for you. Please go back to the basics of CRISPR technology. Now, coming to the statement given by the uh, officials, RT lamp is a futuristic technology and it significantly reduces the complexity of overall process compared to the prevalent real-time PCR technology. Okay, so what is this PCR technology? That is also very important as of now. So PCR stands for polymerase chain reaction technology. So that is the present reliable technology which is used to identify the presence of the virus. That is, virus is the antigen, right? The presence of the antigen in the body. So it is an antigen based test and it can provide many accurate results. So there is another kind of test also, that is rapid antibody based test. So rapid antibody test, what is the difference here? In PCR test the antigen is detected, whereas in rapid antibody test the antibody generated to fight the antigen is detected in the test. So we have also seen that the rapid antibody tests which have been imported from China and all were said to be defective and non-reliable, right? So PCR test is more reliable compared to antigen antibody test. So these aspects you have to go through. Which all are the type of test? What are the basics of this types of tests? Whether it is trying to detect the antigen or the antibody. Where is the reliability more? So all these aspects have to be you have to learn from the exam perspective. So that is all about today's news articles. I hope you like the video. Please press the like button, subscribe to the channel and share the video with your friends. Have a great day. Thank you.